and I thought it was the most boring Chip Zdarsky comic I've ever read. What's going on, everybody? Gem Mint here with today's new comic book day reviews. It's Wednesday, March 16th, and as always, going to go through this week's books as spoiler-free as possible. There was a lot of big books that came out, a lot of indies, and a lot of lackluster books that we're going to talk about, and I'll give you my thoughts. Before we get started, I'm going live today. Today's the day, the big sale on Whatnot for Whatnot Wednesdays, starting at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm doing my Omnibus and Collected Edition sale, part one of what could be a few. Plus, I'm joined by the rest of the Whatnot Wednesday cast, so it's 8 hours of live auctions. If you haven't, download Whatnot, follow me, and use the referral link in the description. It'll give you a $10 credit towards your first purchase. We're going to start with King Spawn. We're on issue 8. It's by Sean Lewis and Javier Fernandez. King Spawn was awesome. You have Al Simmons and Terry Fitzgerald going against this angel, and I like the lore that they set up with the angels. That you rip one wing off and it makes them mad. If you rip the other one off, they they really die or something like that. And they show this badass kind of rogue archangel into like the dream sphere and killing this like mythical death creature. It was pretty dope stuff. And of course, you can't have King Spawn without Scorched. And we're on issue 3 by Sean Lewis as well and Steven Segovia. So Scorched is the Spawn team up book, and this was basically like a team up and big Plague Spawn action sequence, and learning a little bit more about Plague Spawn, and there might be more than what we thought with that character. So pretty interested to see where that goes. I'm really digging the medieval Spawn, She Spawn, having all these different characters mixed together in this book. It's been super fun. Sticking with Image, we're going to move on over to the Silver Coin issue 10. Now this is called Covenant 2, and it's only Michael Walsh, so he did the art and he wrote this. Usually he just does the art and teams up with a big current writer. So it seems like every 5 issues we're going to get the overarching story that gives us more of the origin of the Silver Coin and its powers and this man in the hat that we've been seeing. So anthology series, but there is this overarching thing with this coin. Awesome issue. Almost got pick of the week. Next up, I'm sticking with this What's the Furthest Place from Here. We're on issue 5 by, what is this, Boston Rosenberg plus Oatsmain Elihu. I don't know, man. This is such a quirky, freaky little book. I mean, they kind of threw me for a loop a few times in this issue, thinking, oh, the strangers were just really this. Oh, wait, that's not really the strangers. The strangers are really this. So it's kind of like, I still don't know really what's going on. I don't think the reader is supposed to know yet. We're in a post-apocalyptic world. Where's the adults? Who are these strangers? Are they aliens? Are they kids pulling pranks? What the hell's going on here? But I'm like weirdly intrigued by it. It's got a unique art style. It kind of gives me like, I want to say like MTV Oddities type of animation style. Anyway, moving on to Boom Studios, we have Basilisk. This is issue 8, or chapter 8, I guess we should say, by Cullen Bunn, Jonas Scarf, and Alex Gumarez. It got really religious. I like looking at the cover, this guy praying. So you have these like superpowered beings. They're fighting, and then we learned a few issues back that if one of them gets killed, the powers all transfer to the person who killed them. So kind of like a Jet Li in one type of scenario. So basically these badass terrible mutants, or whatever you want to call it, have been killing themselves off and getting stronger and stronger, coming to a head here with our human character that's trying to catch revenge on them for killing her family. Some flashback scenes to that when that first occurred. It was a really strong issue. It was one of the strongest of the series so far. All right, back on over to Image. We got Time Before Time, issue 11 by Shalvey, McConville, and Palmer, plus O'Halloran and Oatsmain Elihu as well. So this one focused more on this robot character. They're spending a lot of time with this character, like this advanced robot. It's in the past, time traveling, dealing with pods, a lot of different characters that I'm kind of getting lost on who's who with different factions and organizations throughout time, the Syndicate, the Union. I like this story. I like the book, but I don't know. I just get a little bit lost with all the characters. Next up, we have Rain. We're on issue 3. This is by Joe Hill, David M. Boer, Zoe Thorogood, and Chris O'Halloran. So I like Rain. I mean, issue 1 was really strong. It feels like a Stephen King type of book, a Joe Hill type of book. Issue 3 is like, how do we traverse this world where this rain can happen at any time and pour down needles and kill everybody? And how do we get to safety, essentially? So it's kind of like post-apocalyptic Walking Dead vibes in that sense, with the natural elements of danger. still pretty interesting. Then we have a new #1 by Image called Slumber. This is by Smith, Cardinale, Robbins, Wands, and Antos. So this one has a really unique premise. It's kind of like Inception meets Monsters Inc., right? Like you could travel into dreams, and if someone's having a reoccurring nightmare, they can pay you to go into that dream and eliminate the nightmare by any means necessary. So you have this fantasy, almost like I Hate Fairyland type of vibe to it, but bloody, as you can see with the cover, and killing these nightmares, and what happens if the nightmares get into the real world type of thing. So I had fun with it, man. I thought it was a super fun issue and concept. Then lastly, from the indies, from Image, we have Stillwater, The Escape, issue 1. This is like a one-shot, two-story type of issue by Chip Zdarsky, Ramon K. Perez, Mike Spicer, Ethan Young, Jason Liu, and Andrew Wheeler, plus Sue Lee. So I don't know why this was done as a one-shot and not just an issue of the ongoing. It basically gave us 2 little side stories talking about people that have tried to escape Stillwater, who successfully escaped or not so successful. Maybe it's going to play in a part later or what have you, but it just felt like it could have been the next issue. I dug it. I like the world of Stillwater. I like the little mythos that Chip Zdarsky adds here and there, and giving us some more back history on some of the characters and some of the things that transpired in the town. Which is going to bring us over to DC with Batman in Detective Comics, issue 1057 by Tamaki, Nahulpan, and Belair. So Descent into Fear, I think it was also titled The Tower, issue 2. So Batman returning to Detective Comics, and it feels lackluster. It feels like Scarecrow's still there, and now he's got to tie up loose ends with Scarecrow. We just had the Fear State. So yeah, this arc haven't been a fan of. The backup story, House of Gotham by Rosenberg, Blanco, and Belair, I've been liking the backup. This one, they went a totally different direction. They're not focused on this kid anymore during No Man's Land who joined the gangs, who grew up in Gotham, and what that's like as a child growing up with all the danger and all that stuff. This one was more like the Batman perspective of this world, which was pretty cool. So Detective Comics, it's been a little bit slow, but moving on, we have Nightwing, issue 90. This one's by Tom Taylor, Borges, and Lucas. So as the cover would suggest, this is a Nightwing Flash Wally West team-up. It was pretty good. I do like that unique art style. Well, not unique, but I don't know if it's Lucas or Borges who did it in this one, but I always talk about it in this Nightwing run. Like, there's this page where he's running down the stairs, and it just shows him doing all these acrobatic moves going down. I like when they did that with Spider-Man back in the day. This was just a kind of let's get this team up together because people are out here trying to assassinate Dick Grayson. He's got to hide somewhere where they wouldn't expect him. Bloodhaven, Gotham are obviously off limits, so he hangs out in, is it Central City? Star City? Central City? With the Flash. All right, moving on to Batman the Knight. This is issue 3 out of 10 by Chip Zdarsky, D. Giamenencio, and Plasencia. So this is Chip Zdarsky's little 10-issue Batman Begins before he takes over the ongoing series over at Batman. So we're in the era of Bruce Wayne going overseas to train how to be a detective, hooking up with Henry Ducard. And I thought it was the most boring Chip Zdarsky comic I've ever read. I was so tired and bored and disappointed with this one. It's like, dang, you're taking over Batman. I don't know what happened here. I'm not really big on the Henry Ducard stuff. I just felt like it was really a drag, man. Then we have Batman Superman World's Finest, issue 1. This is this debut new series by Mark Waid, Mora, and Bonvillain. I did like the art style. It kind of looked like the cover. You had blue and gray Batman with Robin, and then Superman seemingly sharing enemies like Poison Ivy and Metropolis, and then Metallo and Gotham type of thing. It was okay. I mean, basically the premise here is Superman gets a red kryptonite jab to the chest, and it kind of freaks him out a little bit. So we'll see where that goes. It was okay for like a #1 debut issue. It didn't blow me away, but it was all right. Moving on over to Robins, issue 5 out of 6 by Tim Seeley, Rivas, and Ferraro Jr. And man, Tim Seeley's getting checks over at DC. He's writing so much, but this one, again, nothing special. I haven't really been liking this whole series. This is kind of like all the different Robins going through this kind of computer simulation that Batman set up to see what their lives would have been like if they hadn't become Robins. Would their lives have been better? Would they have been happier? It kind of plays with that whole thing. One more issue. Haven't been digging it. And then we have Catwoman. So I put this on my list because I swore I read Catwoman 1. I even read this issue thinking this was a new Catwoman series, and I was lost, and I didn't really like it. I didn't like the characters of the story, and when I was done, I was like, oh, it's Catwoman 41. No wonder I didn't know what the hell was going on. Teenie Howard, Leon, Giandini. What I read, I didn't like, but I was lost because I'm not reading it. 41 issues in. Which brings us on over to Marvel, and let's start with 10 Lives of Wolverine, issue number 5. This is by Benjamin Percy, Joshua Cassara, and Frank Martin. Awesome, epic Wolverine vs. Sabretooth issue. First of all, I like this kind of whole, almost like Days of Future Past, Wolverine going through pivotal points of his life where Omega Red has gone through the time stream trying to destroy Professor X. In the last issue, Omega Red seemingly coming out of that time jump, out of Wolverine's body that Professor X and Jean Grey have under hypnosis. So that's kind of where we're at now. And then finally tying over with what's going on in 10 Deaths of Wolverine with that whole Phalanx Wolverine from the future thing. So pretty solid, man. This issue was definitely well-rounded, which is going to bring us on over to the Eternals. Now, this is another one-shot. This is The Heretic, also by Kieran Gillen, joined by Bodenheim, Salazar, and O'Halloran. This is another one that kind of just felt like, why was this a one-shot? This could have just been the next issue in the run. I did like it. It's the same tone. It's the same art. It's the same pacing. It's focused more around Thanos and another Titan Eternal Deviant, Thanos' great uncle. Really dug it. Liked his backstory. I forget his name. That was cool. Their dialogue, their interaction. Still kind of not really sure on what the whole machine is. I mean, I understand it kind of resurrects the Eternals, but what does Thanos want with it? Not really sure, but moving on to the Reckoning War Trial of the Watcher, issue 1. This is by Dan Slott and Javier Rodriguez. You don't need to know anything about Reckoning War to enjoy this. Actually, I highly recommend this if you're a fan of The Watcher, if you're a fan of What Ifs. It's essentially what if the Watcher never interfered. So Uatu is supposed to be a Watcher and never interfere, but since he's been introduced in the 60s, he's interfered multiple times. So this is kind of a different take on a what if, but yeah, what would happen if he didn't interfere? Would everything go to hell? Would everybody be fine? You know, you'd have to read it to find out. Before I give you my pick of the week, and there was numerous contenders, I almost gave that Reckoning War Trial of the Watcher pick of the week. I do want to thank Dynamite Entertainment for sponsoring this video. Not only do they have 3 new titles releasing this week, which is the Invincible Red Sonja issue 8, Nyx issue 5, and Jennifer Blood issue 6, but we are planning another live claim sale and auction right here on the channel. It'll be myself with Nick Barucci and Dynamite Entertainment. That will be on Friday, March 25th around 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Just giving you a heads up now. Stay tuned for more information. And now on to the pick of the week. Guys, I gave it to Carnage issue number 1 by Ron V, David Michelini, Mana, Ron Lim, Poggy, Dijo, and Silva. So we had a Carnage one-shot not too long ago that kind of teased the idea that the symbiote's on its own without a host. So Ron V plays with the idea of this serial killer, this guy who tries to kill and leave the bodies in such an art form as to attract the Carnage symbiote. Since the last Carnage storyline had Cletus Cassidy doing kind of that, the artist, killer, mass murderer type of thing. So what would happen if this guy tried to summon the Carnage symbiote? Are they going to bond? Is this going to be the new Carnage? You got to read to find out. It was dark and gritty and horror inspired. Definitely a dope Carnage series, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And that's going to wrap up the new comic book day reviews for today. Let me know what you guys are picking up. Let me know what your pick of the week was in the comments below. And stay minty fresh. Peace.